Hello. Today I was going to do a quick tutorial on how to make a few different kinds of paper clips. We're going to be making these little bow clips that I like. They're fairly easy to make. We'll make some of these little pulled clips, and then we'll make clips from resins. And I like to put a sparkly on the back of mine. So these are just some of the older ones that I've made. A couple different ribbons and how I make them. There are tons of different ways to do these. There may be tutorials out there better than mine. You know, check them out, or a different style. Me, myself, I can't tie a bow very well, so I like to do these. So there's no tying involved here, and it's fairly simple. You'll want to make sure that you have all your supplies gathered up. So I use a hot glue gun. I've just got one of these cheap plastic placemats from like Walmart that I just covered my desk with because I didn't want to mess it up. I've got some extra glue sticks close here at hand. I've got a couple pair of pliers because I will bend my paper clips. I've got my paper clips set out, the ones I want to use. I've got my little resins. I got a whole bin here full of little sparklies, a pair of scissors, a ruler, and you probably want a good lighter. I don't have right here at hand, but after telling everybody to have all their supplies ready, you know, I'll do that part separate. I probably won't do the lighter part on my desk because it's just to melt the ends of the ribbon so you don't get fraying on this particular clip. So, and you want to have your ribbon ready that you're going to use for the bow part, and then the part that you want for the center. I have found this is going to be recycled ribbon. It was just a little bit of ribbon that was on a gift box that was given to me, and I liked it. So, I mean, you don't have to go out and buy stuff. This is literally stuff, if you're a crafter, that you probably have lying around. Like I said, this ribbon came off a gift pack, and it is tied in a little knot here. I guess I should have untied that before, but, you know, I like this piece of ribbon. You don't need a ton for this, so I just saved it. Alright, so first thing you want to do, plug in your glue gun. I don't have one of those little glue gun stands, so I just make sure that I leave mine laying on here. You might want a little pair of gloves because it does get a little warm. So we'll plug in the glue gun, we'll let it start heating up. And for these bow ribbons, we'll start with them. What I do is, because I like my ribbons not to slide around, so they're actually a little bit thicker, as you can see here, the way I make them. So I just take my paper clip, and I'll take a pair of clips, and then I just kind of hold it straight, and I bend it. So nothing major, but basically what it does, and then I just pull this back to even it out. But what that does is that creates a little shelf on my paper clip for my two pieces of ribbon to hold on to. Like I said, there's tons of ways to do this. This just happens to be the way that I do it. I've also found that some of the resins that are kind of 3D, you can glue on the top of this, and it works very well that way too. So I don't have any of the 3D resins right here. So I'm going to be making about 8 of those clips. So what I would do, as I'm starting here, I will take and I will bend all 8 of my paper clips and get them ready. So I'm just making this like a 90-degree angle, just so it sets nice and flat. Paper clips are fairly easy to bend. You just might want to make sure you hold on to them good. You can use 2 pair of pliers if you're worried that, you know, you can't hold on to them good enough. You can use a second pair of pliers to hold on to them. And then once you get them, it's because it sometimes kind of deforms them. You just bend it right back that part right back into place where you want it, and it'll still hold on to your angle. So we got 6 of them done there. Alright. So we've got the paper clips bent the way we want them. And I'm going to move these pliers out of my way. And this ribbon here, because I'm not going to use it. So as far as size, like this right here, I used a 5-inch piece of ribbon to get these size bows. So you just want to take your ribbon that you have and just kind of fold it before you make any cuts. You just kind of want to fold it and see how big you think you want your bow to be. So, you know, I just kind of folded it in half. I'm folding it over, kind of seeing where the center would be. So it's like, okay, if I like that. And then one of the glues you're going to make, you're actually going to be flipping it backwards. So you just kind of want to hold it and see if you think that's the kind size bow you want. And then if it is, you just unfold it, and you would mark where your second piece had met in the middle. So it'd be like right here. So if you decide to go with that, you'd want your ribbon pieces to be a little over 8 inches. I do know that I want my flamingos to be even, so I am just going to go ahead and cut this little flamingo here off because I don't want that piece factoring into my measurements. So if I want to see like 2 flamingos on each side, so if that's kind of where I would want, I think that's how I want my size to be. And you see how I've got the 4 flamingos all lined up there, and then when I fold it, you're going to see a flamingo on each side. So I'm just going to kind of mark where that is with my thumb here, and I'm going to unfold it. And so that means I need to cut my ribbons from the center there, so approximately 7.5 inches. And you need 2 pieces of ribbon for each bow. So I'll just cut it right here. This ribbon, it has stripes, so it's going to be pretty easy to measure. Another way that you could do it once you decide your size, this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 flamingos. So you cut it every 8 flamingos. So you can either do a measurement, or you could cut it by counting the flamingos. If you're doing like a plain piece of ribbon, you would definitely want a measurement because you're not going to have the flamingos on there. So like if I was measuring from like say the back side where it doesn't have a picture, I would want to use my ruler, and then to cut it there I would just kind of measure out my 7.5 inches where I could see it, and then I would make my cut. But mine's actually, with the 8 flamingos, it's about 7.25. So then you just kind of line it up. They don't have to be exactly perfect, and then you cut it. So like I said, for each bow you need 2 pieces of ribbon, and I'll demonstrate with a couple. So there's 4 pieces of ribbon cut, so that'll make 2 bows. Alright, and then this piece here only has 7 flamingos, so it's not quite long enough. So out of the pieces of ribbon I have, I'm gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I've got a little extra piece. But I've got another piece of ribbon that I can get more bows out of. Alright, so that's what you need for the bow part. For the center part, I'm using this little ribbon here. And what I do for it is I just cut a piece that's just a couple inches long. And like there's a little rough patch where the knot was. So I just cut that out and get rid of it. So I'll just cut a couple pieces because this will kind of cut as we go along, but this just cutting it into these littler pieces still makes it long enough that it's going to be easy to work with, but not too small to hold on to. Because as you'll see, when you're kind of smoothing this part over with your finger, you've got the glue. So to get started, the first part you want to do is what I do is I fold my ribbon in half. So I kind of fold it in half where I want it to go. So here, you know, I'm going to have 4 flamingos on each side. Then I just take my scissors and kind of rub my little fold there so that you can kind of see the crease line. And when you flip it over, you see the crease line there. So that's going to be my glue line because that just kind of lets me know where the center of the ribbon is. So then I'm going to take my glue gun and I'm going to put just a little dab, a little line of glue right through there. And you want to work fast. Then I'm going to fold this side of the ribbon into my glue, kind of tap it down, and then I'm going to fold this side of the ribbon in. And like I said, you might want a slight little pair of gloves for this, because once I get it folded in, I'm just going to flatten it out. And then we've got, see how it makes this little part of a bow right here. So I'll set that one aside. I always work on kind of a couple of these at a time, and the extra glue running around, that is why I use this plastic mats, because it rolls up and I can just get it out of my way. So again, take your ribbon, kind of fold it in half to kind of see where the center is. And it don't have to be, like I said, perfect. And then I just take my scissors and just kind of burnish that edge there just so that I'm going to see where my crease is. And then I'll flip it over to the back side. I'll find that center crease and I'll run my glue right down there. And then you just fold in. Kind of run your fingernail around there. Fold the other side in and then flatten it out. And I'll set those aside to dry. So while those are, you know, the glue's cooling off and getting hard, I'll do a couple more. Because I kind of do these, all these kind of things in just steps at a time. You know, kind of like an assembly line type thing. And it just works for me. If you're just making 1 or 2 little bows, it's not going to take you long at all. I mean, honestly, sometimes if you're just making 1 or 2, it can take you more time to get all your supplies gathered up than it does to make the bow. So again, I'm just folding, kind of burnishing with my scissors so that I get a good center line. Hot glue. And the best thing about hot glue is it's clear. Alright, so we've got 4 of those made. So we'll set those, set these ribbons aside here. So we'll start with the 2 that dried first. So at this point you can pick them up if you need to trim off any excess glue. So like this one has just that little bit of glue there and a little glue string. You can just kind of pull that off. Take your scissors, knock that little piece of excess glue. There, this one's got, you know, that little bit of glue kind of sticking up right there. So I just take my scissors, cut the glue off. Alright, so now at this point, we're going to glue the ribbon together in the center. So I'm going to take the ribbon, the glued side up, so this side's nice and smooth. This side is where I join the ribbons together, and I'm going to fold it in on itself, evening up the top and the bottom. So I'm folding it like that and making it even, because that's where I'm gonna glue them together like this. So I always just kind of beforehand kind of fold that glue so that it's ready. So I just line them up, top and bottom, crease them in the middle, just with my fingers, just so that you know it's the glue's kind of already got that little bend in it. So I'll just kind of do that with all my ribbons, all the little pieces I'm working with. I'm just joining them together, top and bottom, to put the little crease in them. So now that we've kind of got them all creased, we're going to take our glue gun in one hand, we're going to pick our ribbon back up where we've got our crease, you know, and here you can fold this again, or if you had like a little paper clip, you could use that also, more like I guess a binder clip if you didn't want to hold it in your hands, but for me I'm just going to hold it. So I'm going to take it, kind of put my little crease there as you can see, and I'm just going to put a little dab of glue right there in the center, and then I'm going to fold it together and I'm going to hold it for a second to make sure my glue, you know, sticks together real good. So once I make sure it's good and stuck, I'll set that one aside. See, we got a little bow. I'll move on to the next one. So folding it, making sure it's gonna fold like I want, and I'm putting the glue right on that line where they join. I know it's kind of hard to see because it's patterned ribbon, but if you kind of look down here in the gold, you can see the line. So I'm just taking my glue gun, putting a little dot of glue in there, and folding them together so that they're even. And then I'm just kind of holding them while the glue dries, pulling off any of the little glue strings. And see, it makes this nice little bow. And yes, you get glue all over your fingernails. That's okay. That's just part of having long nails. So, hot glue comes right off. Because you could use other kinds of glue with this. I like the hot glue because it dries quickly. So fold it, little dab of glue, kind of wind your strings, push it together, hold it for a couple seconds to make sure your glue's adhered to itself. Because I like to pull the strings and stuff off as I go. That way you're not trying to do it at the end. So just folding it, push some little resins back out of the way. And we'll glue this last one. Alright. Pull my little glue string off and hold it. Alright, so at this point we have these little bows. Now to join these together, we're going to take one of our clips, and like I said, to make one of the bow clips it takes two of these bows. So you want to make sure your clip is like you want it, flat. Oh, look at the glue string on my fingernail. So I folded my clip back in. And then I'm going to take two of my bows. A lot of times while they're sitting here, I'll kind of line them up. And basically what we're going to do to join these on the paper clip, see how I have them lined up here, is you take and fold them in the middle, and that's going to make your bow. So see how those two are going to line up? So you just kind of want to make sure that you know they came out the right size. Then we're going to pick up our first bow. Make sure your patterns are the way you want them. Because I want, you know, my two flamingos, I want my bow to look like this with the flamingos going the same way. You know, I don't want one upside down. You could. That would look cute too. But it's all on how you want to do it. Maybe you like this better. Today, I like this better. So I want my flamingos facing the same way. So I'm going to take my bow, and I'm going to have my paper clip ready because you got to work fast. So I've got my two bows here lined up the way I want them. I got my paper clip, and when I glue this, I'm going to glue the paper clip with the fold right here on the first part, and then the second one I'm going to put right on top of it, lining everything up. So real quick, you'll put a good dollop of glue there, put your paper clip in there so it's good and on the glue. Then you want to take your second ribbon, kind of line up your corners and crush them together. Yes, you're going to have glue squeeze out. That's okay. You can kind of wipe that off. And you just want to hold it for a minute. Let it get good and dry. Because at this point your ribbon's so thick, the glue does not feel hot. So any glue that squeezed out, you know, just kind of rub it off, even it up. You can use scissors to trim it up if it's a whole lot. There, it's cooled off. So see how that turned out? And if you can do shorter ribbon, like this, I use like a 5-inch piece of ribbon, so it made the bow a little smaller. I kind of like how it makes like the little X, so I wanted these to be just a little bit bigger. So I'll let that one cool a little bit, and I'll demonstrate it again. So again, you just kind of line up your ribbons, make sure they're sized right. I mean, if you got one that's like way longer than the other, it's going to look a little different. I mean, you could make one. It would look cute if you had one with a tall ribbon and a short ribbon at the bottom. You know, it'd give it a little bit of, it would look a little different. So there are different ways to do this. I don't know if there's actually a wrong way to do it. It's like most things in crafting. You do it the way that you like. So I'm going to take my paper clip. See, it's a little bent out, so I'm going to bend it, get it all flattened back out. Make sure I still got my good flat loop up there. So now I got my paper clip. So I'm going to take, double check I got my flamingos going the same way. I got it lined up. The ribbons look pretty even. I'm going to pick it up. Big dollop of glue. Wind it off. Stick that paper clip in there real quick while my glue's still good and warm. Kind of line these up by putting the corners together and then smush them in the middle. And then there's all the glue squeezing out. And that's okay. You just rub off the excess while it's kind of warm. Hold it for a second while it dries. And with my other hand, I'm getting the glue off my fingernails. See, I always have a little pile of glue balls that I throw away at the end. Alright, so this is cooled off. I'll clean up these little glue strings. Alright, so this is what we have so far. So the next part, you're going to take your little short ribbon, and some ribbons are double-sided. These are kind of the same on both sides. So what I'm going to do here to start this is I'm going to turn my bow upside down. Actually, sorry, I said that wrong. I'm going to start backwards, not upside down. So I'm going to take the ribbon and I'm going to be gluing it from the back side first. I use a narrow ribbon because I want to make sure it fits through here, but you could use a wider ribbon and just kind of crease it however you want. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bow, I'm holding it at the bottom, this is the front, this is the back. So I'm still working from the back side. I'm going to put just a little line of glue here. It doesn't have to be a ton. And I'm going to take this ribbon and I'm going to stick it kind of just right in the center there of that glue. Make sure it's straight. You see how it's now the back of my bow now has a tail. So the next step here, now that my glue feels cool, I'm going to push this tail, keeping it flat, through the paper clip. So now the front of my ribbon has a tail. And then I'm going to take my glue, just kind of start here in the center, and just, oops, time for that second glue stick. That's why you keep plenty around. I'm going to put just a little glue starting in the center, kind of over the side, and halfway down the back. Then I'm going to take my tail, pull it tight, and fold it over. And then it's got just a little tiny tail left on the back. So pull out any extra glue, And you know, while it's cooling down, I draw the strings, pull the glue off my fingernails. So then you got this little tiny bit on the back. So I just take my scissors, trim it close, and then I just take just a drip of glue and just kind of run it over there just so my edges aren't loose. And then we have our first completed bow clip. I think that looks cute. So let's go ahead and we'll add our tail to our second one. And you could do all kinds of ribbon for this. Like I got this pink, it's a little wider. I liked it. But when I saw this on the package, I just thought it went a little better. It added just a little bit of sparkle, but the color just kind of blended right in and just added a little bit of sparkle in my bow. So that's why I decided to go with it. But this can totally be done how you want it. So, little tail here. Put your ribbon on. Make sure it has time to dry. Right in the center. Because when you go to pull it, you don't want to pull it off. So I'll let that sit for just a second. Pull the glue off my fingers again. Then I'm going to tuck it through there. Just make sure it's cooled off. So tuck it back through the paper clip so we got the tail in the front. Gonna start right in the center. Just a little bit of glue. Take it right over the back, kind of to the center. And then gonna kind of pull tight and fold the ribbon right into that glue. Kind of hold it, let it dry. Pull the strings off. Alright, so my glue's cool. Take my scissors, cut my ribbon real close. Little pieces of ribbon fly around everywhere. I've got that last little fold there, just a little bit of the hot glue, and just kind of smooth it down. And that's just so the edges don't come up. So I've got like this little bit of glue in there. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors, trim that right down. Look much better. So there is 2 completed bows. Alright, so for the other kind of ribbon clip, we'll take this piece that came out a little short. It actually works good. I'm going to be right back. Alright, sorry about that. So I wanted to grab a lighter. A lighter is a very handy thing to have in your craft room if you work with ribbons. Alright, so for the second kind of clip, we are going to make these like tail clips. So what you do for these, you get your paper clip you want to use, and you decide where you want like the tail part, the bottom part, where you want it to go. So you kind of hold it on here. So obviously I think I want a flamingo centered in the middle. So I'm going to kind of center it up, and then I'm just going to hold on to it and flip it over. Then I'm going to take the 2 tails of the ribbon and I'm going to tuck them through. So see, you can push this all the way down so you got plenty of room. So you tuck that through this side so it kind of crosses over. Then you tuck the other side through. So see how I've kind of got this wrapped around thing. Now to make sure that you just kind of pull them up even, you might want to flip it back over. Make sure your flamingo's still in the center where you want it. Just kind of pull it up a little bit. You don't want to pull it tight yet. So you've kind of got it like this. Got the 2 flamingos, got it around. And if you look on the back here, you kind of see you've got this nice crease. So as you pull it up, the crease kind of gets tighter. So what you want to do is take your hot glue and just right in the center of that crease put you a good dollop of glue. As my one friend called it, the butt. And then you want to pull kind of tight. And then the glue will hold it and keep it from sliding around. So as you wait for that to cool, this would be the back. You could add a jewel to it if you want. Once you get that on there, you can kind of stick your glue gun in there. Put just a little bit more glue just to make sure it's held good. We'll let that cool just for a couple seconds. Move the little bits of glue out of the way. Alright, now to even up the edges, as you see, my ribbon's kind of fraying here. They're kind of at different lengths. So what I would do is fold them together. And I want to cut them off evenly. So you can cut it this way. You can cut the folds however you want. You can leave them square. I think I'm going to make mine, and I cut them at the same time, that way they're the same. So I'm just going to cut those two edges off, and see, it just looks nice. I'm going to take my lighter and just barely go up the edge of these ribbons, because that's just going to keep them from fraying. And there is how you do that kind of clip. Alright, and so for the last one, this is how you make resin clips, how I make them. Like I said, there's probably several different ways to do this. I like to have my little resins. I just kind of lay them out. I take the sparkles. I like the sparkles on the back of these. So I'm going to take my resin, flip it over, and I'm going to decide what size sparkle that I want to put on the back of it. So this one here looks like it's going to be a little big. So that's the wrong size. So the medium size here, I think, is going to be the size that I want, because it's going to fit in there nicely. So I would go through my sparkles here. That's the size I want. So I've got 5 here. I want to get my sparkles the size that I want set out. I don't want to try to be digging for them while I'm waiting for because my glue will dry. So I'll dig me out 5 little sparkles here. That's the size I want to use. Alright, so we got our sparkles, we got our resins, and for these we're just going to use a standard flat clip, no bending. So what I'm going to do here, take my resin, back side, in the center, drop a glue, cut the edge off, stick your clip in it. On top of that, just a touch more glue, just a little, stick on our sparkle. Kind of hold them together so that they dry. While I'm holding it here, I'll pull off the little strings. You see? Super simple, easy clip. You can use this thing for buttons, anything that you want to make a clip out of. I've got I've used buttons. Now different people do different ways. Like here they've put felt on the back. I'm trying to look for some other ones. Here's one where they made a little felt bow and they've put just another piece of felt across the back. Here's one where I've used a sticker and I just cut a piece of paper to the same size to the back and sandwiched it between so that it just looks flat on the back. I made a green donut clip. So there's all different kinds of ways you can do this. Here's another resin that somebody's just cut a piece of felt for. Here's a resin that somebody's used. They've cut a piece of ribbon and glued it on. I like to do the sparkles, but that's just me. So now that he's all dry, that's how you do that. So I'll do one more, and then I think we'll call this video a wrap. So just take your resin. Oops, lost my glue stick. Stick it in there. So little drop of glue in the center. Stick your clip in there, and you want to make sure it's good and in the glue. Then just a little bit more glue right on top of that clip, because you're wanting to cover both sides of that clip with the glue. Then just take your little gem, put it right on there, and smush them together. And if you've done too much glue, you can peel it apart, start over. But see, if you do it right, there won't be any glue seepage out. So And the glue dries clear, so it's not like if you got a little bit seeping out, it's not like it's a big deal. So that is how I make bow clips, the ribbon clips like this, and resin clips. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. I hope this was good and easy, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!